Hello everyone and welcome to Advanced Tutorial 0. In this tutorial we will get into some more advanced stuff like pointers, anchors, the Toml file and how to keep everything organized. If you ever wondered how HMA always knows where your data is, well, this is exactly what the video today is about. Let's start off with the Toml file. When you open a ROM in HMA for the very first time, it automatically generates a Toml file in the same folder as your ROM. If we take a look at this folder, you can see it only contains the ROM itself. But if we now open up HMA and then the ROM in there, you will see in a few seconds it's going to generate the Toml file here. There it is. Let's open it up. Now, what is the Toml file? You can think of it like some sort of memory file for your project. This file stores everything HMA learns about your ROM. That is basically stuff like anchors, pointer related stuff, structural data, and also some of your individual HMA settings, like for example go-to shortcuts. It basically remembers where everything is located, so it doesn't have to rediscover it every single time. Changing stuff in here without care can result in HMA not reading or interpreting data properly. Therefore, it will cause problems in the future. Now, the next thing I would like to talk to you about is what anchors are. And this is where things get important for you and for HMA. An anchor is a fixed reference point inside your ROM that HMA can reliably find. Think of it like some sort of landmark on a map. So even if everything else moves around, the landmark stays the same and you can always start from there. If we open up HMA again, you can see some anchors down here. They allow you to quickly navigate through your ROM. So for example, they are categorized. If we open up the graphic category, you can access basically any sort of graphic quickly in your game. The only downside is HMA naturally doesn't know every single event, etc., which is in your ROM, so not everything is anchored, and some stuff you might have to anchor yourself. And I will teach you right now how to do it. There are basically two ways of creating an anchor. One which is in HMA itself, and the other one is with the help of your Toml file. We will cover both ways in this video. So for my example, I would like to show you how to anchor and access the event script, which happens once the player faints in battle and then gets ported back to the Pokemon Center, which is called whiteout. For this, let's press the help button, then online reference content, Pokemon Fire Red, and then we can go to the list of all symbols. This will open up our browser. And you get a full list of every single stuff and symbol in Pokemon Fire Red. So this might be pretty overwhelming with so much information and stuff, but don't worry, I teach you how to navigate through this. We press Ctrl+F to open up the search function, and then we search for whiteout. This will give us 30 results in this case. And not everything here is what we actually need. Like, as you can see, this one is called do whiteout, which calls the function itself to do the whiteout. The next one is about the money loss connected to the whiteout. So that's nothing of what interests us. We search for something called event script, which is right here. So first thing you might notice is here is one event script called Mom Heal. Remember, if the player faints before ever visiting the first Pokemon Center, he gets teleported back to his or her mom. So we don't want this one, we actually want the one which is for the Pokemon Center. In this case, it's this one. At the start of it, you always find the offset where it's located. So let's copy this one and paste it in HMA. Hit enter, and this brings us exactly to the point in the ROM where the highlighted byte is right here. If we now click code and then change the code type from thumb to script, you will see it actually reads the event properly. And you can tell we are at the right place because you can see stuff about Nurse Joy right here in the movement. And also down here you can see the message, your Pokemon have been healed to perfect health. So this definitely tells us we are at the right place. But now back to the anchor. Why is the creating an anchor here actually useful? Because if we now close HMA and then reopen it, we again have to do this annoying process of getting here. But an anchor allows us to have quickly access through the go-to menu right here. Keep in mind, the more anchors you place, you probably want to have them organized, which means in this case we access the Nurse Joy event script, which means we probably also want to have it in the event in the script category, right? It doesn't really make sense to have the event script in the graphic category. So there are, remember, two ways of creating an anchor, and the first one I'm going to show you right here. Let's prepare it in our notepad file. So as I said, we want to have it in the scripts category. Then we add a point to tell HMA we want to create a subcategory. This one we are going to call whiteout. Now do remember, as I just stated before, there are two different kinds of whiteout. One is for the Pokemon Center and one is for the player's mom. So we create another subcategory and this one we call Center. There is one more thing we need in this case, and this is the backtick sign, which is this. And then we write XSE and another backtick. This is basically telling HMA that we are reading an event data right here. We will get to this in a moment when we talk in the Toml file about the format, but for now just accept it is this way. Now we copy this one over, and at the highlighted byte we now do the little caret sign, which is on the keyboard right left of 1, which is this. Whoops, we only need 1. And then we paste what we just created. And now you can see, we can save right here, we just created the anchor scripts whiteout center XSE. That means if we close HMA right now and then reopen it, you will notice if we now click on scripts, we actually have access to whiteout. And this one opens center. So if we click on it, we quickly navigate back to where we have been before and can again edit the Nurse Joy event on whiteout. So this is a very useful way of quickly navigating through your ROM. Now before we talk about how to create an anchor inside your Toml file, I would like to show you how to delete an anchor, because there's something important about it. So let's say you create a new Pokemon game and you don't want to edit Kanto or use Kanto at all. You might want to get rid of some of the scripts and events because you don't really need them for your game, and this gives you more safe room to work with. So all you gotta do is right click on the highlighted byte and then clear format. This removes the anchor entirely, as you can see. Keep in mind, if you now plan on doing your own Pokemon game with your own region and stuff, this is not deleting the data in there. You see the data is still here, so if I would recreate the anchor, we can still edit the data. So just keep that in mind in the future to also delete the data in case you don't need it. Okay, let's close HMA for a moment. And then, oh whoops, let me just quickly check if I actually removed the anchor now, because I'm not sure. Yeah, it didn't. One moment. Let's just get rid of the anchor again, like this, save, and now close. Perfect. So now if I reopen it, you will see the anchor is gone, because we just deleted it. Scripts, and there you see it's gone. Let's talk about the second way of creating an anchor. For this, I want to talk to you first about all the different things you need for an anchor inside the Toml file. First, you have the argument named anchors, which tells you, okay, we are actually having an anchor here. Then we have the name, which is an individual one, so you can categorize it in the go-to menu as you saw before. The one below is the address. Remember, it's this one, but don't copy over 0 and 8 in this case. The actual address for the Toml file is only the last 6 digits. Then we have the format. Remember, I told you XSE is for event scripts. There are different sort of formats. I'm not going to cover them all right now, but just so you know, if you ever come over some graphic anchors or something, they definitely use different formats, but this is something for another video possibly. And then at the end there is the default hash, which basically represents the original data at an anchor, allowing HMA to detect if the data has been modified. Which in our case is not really needed for now, because we just now create a very new one. Let's just copy and paste an anchor like this and duplicate it. This makes it easy because we just have to edit the stuff in we need now. Remember, we wanted to have the whiteout script in the scripts category. Then we add a dot for telling HMA that we create a new subcategory, which we call whiteout. And then again subcategory, because remember there is the player mom and the center script on whiteout. This one is again called center. And this time the XSE gets added to the format instead. And we also delete this 4 right here. Now the only thing basically missing is the address, which was 1A8D80. So let's fill that in. Whoops. 1A8D. Oh wait, I was just at the wrong place, right? Yeah, it's one below. 1A8D97. Yeah, like this. Never mind. 1A8D97. As I said, we don't need the default hash really in this case. Then we just save the Toml file, reopen HMA and the ROM. And then you see if we open up the scripts category, our whiteout section is back. And we again get immediately to the point where the script is located so we can edit it. Now, the next point I want to talk to you about are pointers. But before we immediately talk about them, let's first understand the problem. In ROM hacking, data is not always stored in one fixed place. Things get moved around, especially when you repoint data. And this is where pointers come in. A pointer is simply an address that points to another address where the actual data is stored. So just so you know, HMA reads pointers like this in blue with those little arrow brackets around them. And in our whiteout case, we have actually a lot of pointers right here. For example, this pointer, you can see it points to the message, so let's double click on it. And then you have, first you should restore your Pokemon to full health, the text right here. And you see it's at an entirely different offset than our actual script. It's at 1A5, while our script is at 1A8, etc. So in other words, a pointer does not contain the data. It tells your game and HMA instead where to find it. Just like basically a table of contents tells you the right page in a book. Now that we know about both anchors and pointers, let's relate them and connect the two concepts. And here's the important part. Anchors don't store data, they show you where it starts, and pointers only guarantee stability if they point to the right offset. Because, for example, if we would now change the offset inside this pointer and point somewhere entirely different, it might read corrupted data, and if you then play the script inside your game, the game might freeze or crash. So only together, pointers and anchors allow HMA to reliably find everything. It's basically like this. The anchor gives you a starting point and the pointer tells you where to go next. Alright, let's go back to our list. So the final thing I want to talk to you about is keeping the Toml file, this one here, and the .gba file, this one right here, in synchronization. Because if you are doing a backup, for example, manually, let's call this folder backup, and then copy paste your ROM file in here, we have one problem. Let's say we open up this ROM again inside HMA, it's going to read its natural offsets and anchors again. Which means the just added whiteout script, the anchor for it, which we did before, is not part of it. So what we have to do is always back up the Toml file as well, together with a .gba. So this way HMA can always remember stuff. Keep in mind this only really matters if you back up your stuff manually, because if you do it with HMA, like you click File and then Export Backup, HMA will naturally back up both the Toml file and the GBA file. Think of it like this: the GBA saves the changes you made to the game, but the Toml file saves the ability to read those changes in the future. So remember to always back them up together. Well, this is basically it for the video. Remember, if you have further questions, to join the HMA Discord server or to ask in the comments below. And thanks for your attention, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.